is Toyin Umesiri. I'm the CEO of Nazaru, LLC, a US-based company, and I'm also the convener of the Trade with Africa Business Summit, which happens in the US. Basically, what I've found coming from the business side and the global trade community in America is the fact that the business leaders in Africa have an opportunity to connect and partner with the business leaders in the US. For the last 20 years, what I have seen is that we've established diplomatic relationships heavily, but there's a huge opportunity for us to allow the business community in America to get to know what doing business in Africa is and what doing business with African leaders look like. Nazaru came out as a need for us to create a platform that helps Africans to understand the US market. So just as we're connecting the business communities together, we also realized that within the global market, for me, I come from the retail space, working for the largest players in that space. And I quickly realized that African businesses and exporters, we have an opportunity to capture trade using AGOA. And it expires in a couple of years, and Nazaru is now, positioned to help African exporters access the US market. Right now, we know that the US currently does about 2% of its global trade with sub-Saharan Africa. And within that basket, there's really mostly extractive resources, oil. So with Africa having a quarter of the number of countries in the world, I think that's a low figure for us to be talking about. So there's room to grow. What it means is there's room to grow. That's one. The second thing we have to look at is existing flows of commodity and products today does not give credit to Africa for what Africa produces. A good example is cashew. West Africa produces about 30 to 40% of the cashew consumed around the world, but the world doesn't acknowledge that because it is exported raw into Southeast Asia, processed in Southeast Asia before it enters the Western market. We have an opportunity to say, we grow cashew, we process cashew, and we can sell you some cashew. That's the future that I look forward to. What we do know is fragmentation doesn't allow you to negotiate in a powerful way, right? So by Africa coming together, and the interesting thing or the funny thing is people already perceive us as one country anyway. so why not? I see unity in number, unity as a force. Unity as a strong negotiating bloc on the global market to say as a unit we can go to the market and say this is our value, this is our people, this is our market, this is our infrastructure, this is how we want to play on the global market. It's easier for us to have that conversation united than divided. The Intra-Africa Trade is a landmark event. It's history. And one of the things I say is everybody that is part of this inaugural event, they are the risk takers. Because when you're trying to do something for the first time, it's really challenging to share your vision and to get people to support your vision. So I must commend, President Obama, the head of and chairman of the board of Afrexim Bank for his vision. And I say this is the type of leadership that Africa so needs. This is the time that we need that type of leadership. And this is the first actualization of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. It's not just we want to do. Now we can really say that we do believe in it. We are putting money where our mouth is. We mean business. Africans have showed up and they've told the world we are moving. So for me, this is history. And I do hope that we tell that story, that it doesn't just end at this event, that we're able to tell the story of what we're doing here, and we can also tell the world of why they want to be a part of this movement to transform Africa. The diaspora has a huge role to play in telling our stories. We are all over the world. We interact with our host countries, we build relationships with our host country, we marry, we have children, we've become a part of that community. And when we do become a part of a community, we must share our stories. I think what we can do a better thing of is owning our stories, celebrating our stories, and sharing our stories with our friends, our co-workers, and getting them to say, I know this is what you see on the TV about Africa, but let me share my experience. And there's not one story to Africa, really. I come from upper middle class. So actually, when I moved to America is when I knew how poor Africa was. So America educated me about poverty in Africa, but I lived a different lifestyle. But for me, my work is now, how do I tell the world that there are complex business transactions happening in Africa, but because of mindsets, barriers, groups of people around the world are being excluded from those transactions because they are not passive in Africa. They don't understand the Africa of today and the Africa, they don't believe in the Africa of the future. So I think our work is cut out for us. We really have to have a clear view of the Africa we're working towards, and we have to say we want partners. We would lead, we have to lead. We cannot afford to say, we cannot hand over the steering wheel to other people. We cannot expect other people to build our nations. The greatest regions and developed places around the world that we've seen were built. A nation is built, and we want to call on all the diaspora to please join those that are back home to say, we see what you're trying to do, we have the resources, we have the network, we have the expertise, we've seen the way the world works, and we want to be a part of that journey. So that's what I think needs to happen, and that's what personally I'm trying to do, to say, I may not be able to influence everybody, but surely I can offer myself, my resources, and my network. Like many diaspora, we leave the continent with passion, with dreams, with hopes. I did the same. So pursuing the opportunity, the promise of America, the land of open dreams attracted us. And I went into the US for my graduate program. And right after that, the corporate America absorbed me. And I grew my career, my professional career, my personal career. I grew everything, and I rose through the ranks, and I got the opportunity to work for the world's largest company, Walmart, at the home headquarters. So I was really, really good, right? And since I left, I didn't go back. But what happened, which changed my life, was I lost my dad about 3 years ago, which then you make that imagine, the phone call you do not want to have. Then I returned, but that changed my life because I heard the stories and the legacy and his community. He rose through the ranks, but he stayed connected to his community. And that was when I decided, oh my goodness, I have roots. I have a community I must serve. And I began my journey to say, these are my expertise, these are my people. Even though I'm a citizen of America, I can never divorce myself from where I came from and the region that produced me. So I've been on that journey since. So it was an unfortunate, sad event, but it was necessary, because if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here.